What's up guys, my name is Josh and today we will be speaking about the Spear Goblin Hut, which is kind of a controversial card at the minute. Some people love it, some people hate it, but me personally, I don't mind the card. I use the card in some of my decks. I think for 5 elixir it is a good card. I don't think it's... A lot of people are saying it's OP. I disagree. I don't think it's overpowered by any stretch of the imagination. I think it has its place for 5 elixir, that's for sure. Do I think it needs a nerf? No, but what I think that they should do, I think that they should rebuff the elixir pump. And coming from me, that's kind of saying something, because I absolutely despise the elixir pump. I don't think that anybody should be able to get an elixir advantage over the opponent. I understand you can counter the pump and there's ways to counter it, but you shouldn't have to bring a specific card in your deck to counter the pump just in case the opponent has it, right? You know, I could talk about that in another video. I could, you know, go on for hours talking about the elixir pump. One of my most hated cards. I just don't think that anybody should be able to get an elixir advantage over the opponent. That's just my opinion. But anyway, we're talking about the Spear Goblin Hut. And yeah, for 5 elixir, I think it definitely has its place in the game. You know, I wouldn't want to see them take it away. Not that they would anyway, so I don't know why I said that. But, you know, what I'm trying to say is, for 5 elixir, it's a great card. If you compare it to other 5 elixir cards, like, for example, the Cannon Cart or the Bowler, you know, they all have their kind of place and their niches. You know, Bowler not so much, because he's kind of a dead card at the minute. There's not much to use the Bowler for. But for 5 elixir, the Spear Goblin Hut offers, you know, constant chip at the tower. It's annoying to deal with. You know, the only spell that fully takes it out is a rocket, but obviously that's a 1 elixir negative trade, and you don't want to be doing that all game. And obviously you want to use your rocket for other things as well. For example, if the other person has a pump, or if they have a Sparky. You know, no one carries Sparky, but just in case, you know, you don't want to always have to basically always rocket their Spear Goblin Hut. You know, that's not something you really want to do. That's something you kind of have to do just to deal with it, because it's so annoying. And that's why I think it's such a good card. And it obviously ties in with the current meta at the minute, which I will do another video on. But obviously it's very spammy at the moment. It's very kind of swarm, kind of zap bait. Log bait's coming back a little bit. But there's all these kind of swarmy troops, you know, stuff that you need to zap. So I'm pretty sure 100% of people will carry zap in their deck at this point. You have to. You can't not. Or if you... Sorry, you can. You can. But if you don't carry zap, you have to carry tornado. Or if you don't carry tornado, you have to carry arrows, fireball. You have to carry 3 spells, especially on the ladder. And that's why I think the Spear Goblin's so good right now, because not many people carry 3 spells. So people usually carry... Right now, if you go and play a challenge match, they'll be carrying 2 spells. They'll be carrying poison and they'll be carrying zap. And then you'll get some people carrying rocket log. For example, if that's a in a log bait deck, you know, you'll have log and a rocket. That's your 2 spells. But if you go into most challenge games right now, 9 out of 10 decks will have poison zap, just because they're so versatile. But here's where the Spear Goblin Hut comes into its own, because obviously the poison doesn't fully kill the hut, and it leaves the hut with some health left, so it's still constantly chipping away at the tower. And that's what I think makes the card so good right now. I don't really understand why people are saying it's OP. I think you can definitely deal with it. Whether you can deal with it for 5 elixir even trade or not, that's a different story. And that's, you know, I can understand why people would call for a nerf, because there's no spell in the game that costs 5 elixir apart from the graveyard. But obviously that's more of an offensive win condition type spell, which is rare in the game, right? Pretty sure that's the only spell that's like that. So the graveyard's really unique. Anyway, yeah, there's no other spell that costs 5 elixir that would evenly take out the Spear Goblin Hut. So what I think that Supercell would need to do right now, you know, looking at the current state of the game, looking at the current meta, saying, do we really want to nerf the Spear Goblin Hut? It's in a great place right now. It's in the best place it's ever been. Obviously because Obviously it's like this because they nerfed the elixir pump, which obviously a lot of Golem players needed that elixir pump to, you know, make their deck viable. You know, they need to get their pump down, they need to get their Golem down, but before double elixir or just as double elixir hits, and then obviously that pump will, you know, give them the elixir they need in time. And obviously with the nerf to the elixir pump to where poison is an even trade, which I think is ludicrous, because obviously it's 4 for 6. So yeah, to fully take out the pump, it's 4 for 6. You know, 4 elixir poison, 6 elixir pump. So with that nerf to the pump in the most recent balance update, I think that a lot of Golem players have kind of had to say to themselves, like, hang on, pump is not viable anymore. You know, we have to kind of change the deck, have to take that card out and see what we can replace it with. And I think a lot of them were drawn to the Spear Goblin hut because obviously it's 1 elixir less. Okay, it doesn't give you elixir obviously, but in a way it does, because it's constantly moving out Spear Goblins, right? And obviously that's constantly chipping at the tower. For a Golem player, that's quite essential, because they're only going to have 1 or 2 attacks where they put the Golem down and then put supporting troops down behind it, right? And obviously if you've got that continued influx of Spear Goblin if you've got that continued influx of Spear Goblins, you know, they might say the opponent logs to get rid of like 2 or 3 Spear Goblins. Then you can put your Goblin gang down. Then you can put your, you know, you could even put a Goblin barrel in a Golem deck. Even Golem decks are quite baity at the moment. Like, even for example, the deck that I'm playing in the on screen right now, it's the Golem, Spear Goblin, Night Witch, Flying Machine, Mega Minion, Poison Zap deck, and Royal Ghost. And it's so good. I didn't make the deck up, but I'm not sure where I got it from actually. It's such a good deck, because if you put your Spear Goblin hut down, they'll poison it. That's the first move the opponent usually does. They'll always poison it. And then that allows you to put your Night Witch behind, because then they have nothing for the Night Witch. Then you could put your Flying Machine. Then you could put your Mega Minion, and all these poisonable troops that they can no longer poison because you've baited them out with the Spear Goblin hut. And that's why it's such a good card right now, because there's no, apart from the poison, which is the spell everyone is carrying right now, there's no other 5 elixir even trade to get rid of it. I think one of the best counters to it right now is the Flying Machine. Depending on how high the opponent puts the Spear Goblin hut up on their base, you can put a Flying Machine over the top and it would directly shoot the Spear Goblin hut. But that obviously depends how high they put it up, and a lot of people are getting aware of that now, because obviously more and more people do it, more and more people learn how to counter it, and that's fine. But if you look at the counters to Spear Goblin hut, there isn't anything for 5 elixir that evenly counters it. To my knowledge anyway, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Like I say, Graveyard's 5 elixir, but that's obviously a completely different and unique spell. So I think that Supercell, to get back to my point, I think Supercell could do 2 things. They could either simply nerf the Goblin hut to where they don't touch the actual goblins themselves, but they touch the health of the hut or how long the hut lasts. I think that's one option for them. You know, maybe reduce it by, I don't know, how long is it right now? 40 seconds? Maybe reduce it by 2 or 3 seconds or 5 seconds. I don't know how significant of a nerf that would be if they did 5 seconds, but maybe 2 or 3 seconds to where it reduces the goblins by 2 or 3 Spear Goblins, right? Or they could anticipate the next meta and then rebuff the elixir pump, but don't fully give all of its hit points back. Only give a slight amount. So for example, I think they took away 16% hit points. I think they should give back 8%, which makes the pump slightly more viable, and then you'll see less and less people, less and less Golem players or beatdown players using the Spear Goblin hut, because then that forces the opponent to use their poison on something else. And then I think that makes 3 Musketeers coming back, and so many things can change, so many variations can change. But I think that's one, you know, those 2 options are a great way to go for Supercell. Like I say, I don't think the Spear Goblin hut's broken or OP at the minute. I think it's in a great place. You know, arguably it could use a slight nerf, but in my opinion, I don't think that it deserves a nerf. Not quite yet, anyway. You know, we all know what card deserves a nerf, as I spoke about in my last video. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video today, guys. Let me know what you thought about it. Leave your comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.